with a minaret. Now is a mosque, but actually it was a church, and it was built at early 12th century, the Dominican church, and the only known fresco of St. Francis of Assisi was found there. Now it is in the Archaeological Museum of Istanbul. For a time, it was let as a church even after the conquest, but nearly 80 years afterwards, it was converted to a mosque. There were schools, the first cycle of school, second cycle of school, third, fourth cycles of schools, and higher level education, medical faculty, hospital, a caravanserai, a Turkish bath, a restaurant where they distributed food to the needy people. They were all built together. And the buildings on the right and left hand side were the school buildings related to the mosque and built at the same time as well. And in this building here on the right side, there is the handwritten book collection, which is over 130,000 in number, and the richest from the early times. For example, all those philosophers' works, including Ptolemaios' famous geographical, book, original is here, over there. 130,000 books they got there. With some special permission, you can go in and then do research work there. So did an American professor wrote about Sufi because he was teaching at Iran, Tehran University, but then mullahs came to the rule. He had to leave his job, but before going back to United States, he stayed here about a year and did a research, and he found the book of Ibn al-Arabi, who was a Muslim philosopher. He was not thinking like Imam Ghazali, but he was thinking, that humans have responsibilities as they were created by God, and as brain and mind and capacity was given to them, they have responsibilities to think, to use their brain, to ask questions, and to find answers as well. This book was translated later to English as well. Do you know who ordered them to be translated to Turkish? Mehmet II, the conqueror, that 21 years old, Sultan, as I mentioned before. He was a really genius person. Imagine that Charlemagne, or Charlemagne, as the French says, he was illiterate. Yes, he was illiterate, Charlemagne. But so there were some differences between the rulers at the east and rulers at the west when it comes to their education and capacity of thinking as well. So those days were brilliant days, were powerful days, let's say, for the Ottomans. But here around, about 2,500 people started to work in the madrasas, primary schools, middle schools, hospitals, hammams. There was even a corner, a clinic for psychologically sick persons. All that was built between 1550 to 1557 by one architect, Sinan. I will tell more about, but first look at the dome there, please. You see, it has a central dome at the center, 4 minarets. And those 4 minarets have a total of 10 balconies, because Süleyman was the 10th Sultan, representing his position on the line. What you see here is there are no buttresses, flying buttresses, big buttresses, although there are. You see, to put a buttress or not to put a buttress is a big liability. But the architect turned this liability to an asset by hiding those, flying buttresses inside the building through creating a gallery, a balcony there inside of the building. So Sinan really was a master of creating volumes. We will see now when we get in. Let's go in now. When they come, they and they start with washing the right hand 3 times, and then left hand 3 times, and then mouth 3 times, nose 3 times, face 3 times, arm, right arm 3 times, left arm 3 times, and then 3 times right ear, 3 times left ear, and then once head, and then 3 times right leg, 3 times left leg, and then they can come into the mosque to give their prayer. This was a traditional ablution way in Muslims, and they still do this.
What is the significance of 3?
Sorry?
What is the significance of 3?
You know, 3 was 3, 7, those numbers were always important. Always. For example, in Christianity, there is the Trinity. Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. But for example, at the top of the minaret, it is triangle. In a Muslim altar, when you look to the altar, it's a niche, and the upper part is a triangle. In a prayer rack, where they put their heads, it's a triangle. Because the top is the creator of everything. The left line is the created living things, and the other is the created non-living things. So in Islam, it represents in this way. But 3 is sacred for many religions as well.
Is that real gold?
Sorry?
Is that real gold?
No, it's brass. It's brass.
How long does it take to do all the process of cleaning? 3 times those.
Building,
Like
cleaning,
cleaning, like washing the
just
head, food.
5-6 minutes. You know.
5-6 minutes.
In, but a little brief information. Down under this marble pavement here, there's a huge cistern. And there was water coming there, pumped up even in the 16th century by using manual systems. And although it looks like a fountain, this was not a fountain. You see, when you come closer and look at the top parts, you see water comes there like showers.
Don't tell me they had to shower.
Yeah, not to give showers to the people, but to give negative ions. You know, a refreshment during a summer time. You know? That's why it was built in this way. Decorational, you know, but the function was to give a cool, you know, air to the prayers coming here.
So there's a
because
mist,
if the
mist coming out.
yes, not now, but in the past, always
Yeah.
the water was coming, like
Summertime,
coming from through
especially.
showers. Yes. And when the inside of the mosque was full, then people give their prayers here around, and even here, there also. In Muslim, 2 prayers are very important. I mean, every week, Friday noon prayer is important, and then the dawn prayer before the Ramadan festivity, when fasting month comes to an end. The first dawn prayer is important. So, for example, to Blue Mosque, when it was open, daily 300-400 people go there and give their prayers. But just at dawn after Ramadan, you can see over 20,000. Outside is full as well. Here too, all this courtyard, even there outside, is full at dawn then. So it was used for prayers as well, if necessary.
So do they bring their own prayer rugs then?
Yes, for outside prayers, yes, they will bring their own prayer rugs. Or some, you know, something that to lay down
So
under.
it's not important that they all make their way into the
No,
inside. They can pray outside.
yeah. If it was full, then
It's okay.
they had to do in that way.
And Mr. Attila, on number of prayers, not all Muslims are united. Shiites, they have how many?
They have different 3.
They have 3 times a day.
How do they all wash outside? Are that many people before prayers?
Sorry, huh?
How do they all wash? in
Some
the...
some of them do this at home.
Oh, at home.
You know, they are not obliged to take it here.
Yeah, yeah.
Those who couldn't come
Take
here
it
and
here.
use those
Okay.
steps over there.
And then I have question. Yesterday, we ladies went to ladies' bathroom, and then one Muslim lady came out, and she was washing her feet. Why?
Actually, it's forbidden to do in the public,
Okay.
restroom.
Okay.
But some does. It was ablution before prayer. She was doing the same ablution.
Okay. I was thinking, what is she? Friday prayer.
For Christians mostly, Sunday is important. Well, Shabbat is the seventh day, so Shabbat is important for Jewish. For Muslims, Friday, because the first prayer by Prophet and his followers were given at Friday. Due to that, still Friday noon prayer is important in Muslim. And I said 70% of Turkish Muslim or Turkish, almost 99% are Muslim born, practicing or not. Nearly 7% Christians from all, mainly Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, but Catholics are increasing in number, some Protestants as well, and less than 0.1 is Jewish community, mostly in big cities, and about 10.4% of Muslim population give their prayers 5 times a day, but 70% fast during the fasting month of Ramadan. Once I sailed to Egypt during Ramadan, and in Cairo, which is a huge city, over 17 million people live there, there was not a single restaurant open at lunchtime. We were not fasting, so we couldn't find any place outside. So we had to go to a big chain hotel, foreign chain hotel. There it was possible to get lunch. But here in Turkey, almost 95% of those restaurants are open. Those who like to fast. Those who like to eat, they can find place to eat. It's a bit different here than the other, Arab countries. More liberal, let's say, in a way.
So are you saying
But-
like if they're not, so people who don't pray 3 times a day, they fast, and the opposite, is that what you're saying? So
I'm telling that 10.4% give their prayers 5 times a day, but when it comes to fasting, 70% fasts in Turkey.
It's during the month of Ramadan.
During the month of Ramadan.
okay.
But, let's continue to talk inside because it's cold here.
Mr. Attila, can I just, hey, friends,
Sorry,
I want two questions to ask. We have to keep in mind that for Muslims, Friday is not like for Jews, Sabbath. It means in the afternoon, they go to business, they do work. The Friday is only the day for prayer.
To give prayer.
But Mr. Attila, I like this group, would be very much interested to hear from you. We know that the fall of the Ottoman Turkey, it happened in 1923. Is there any other date in Muslim history that's significant that it can be counted as the day of the fall of the Ottoman Turkey Empire?
No, sir. No, because the last Ottoman Sultan, in a way, collaborated with the winners of the war who occupied the country, and at the end, the last Sultan escaped first to Malta on a British Navy boat, and then there to San Remo in Italy, and he died there in poverty. The last Sultan. So it is not a day to remember him.
Let me tell you, the reason I'm asking, because for this group it's very important to hear is because there is tradition in the United States among Protestants that really the fall of Ottoman Turkey happened in the year 1841, August 11. When Turkish Empire came a little bit under the control of the European powers. And it's very important, friends, to hear that's a myth. That's a myth which does not fit any reality. I wanted really, since we have you today, the last day, I wanted really to clear up some
I will
things.
give a very short summary about Ottomans, upgoing and down. in a very brief way.
Yeah.
Let's do it inside because it's cold here. Good idea. Fasting and Ramadan. You see, there are 5 conditions of being a Muslim. The first one is to say, to accept that God is the only creator of everything in the cosmos, and Prophet Muhammad is his prophet. And then you have to give 5 times prayers. And then you have to fast during the Ramadan month. And then, if possible, and if you don't have debts, once in your life, you should go to Mecca, to Kaaba, as a pilgrim as well. And you should also believe to the, last judgment and the life after life. And you see, Ramadan changes every year because the old calendar was the moon calendar, shorter than today's solar calendar. So by time, you see there is the 14 days difference. So it could be sometimes summer, sometimes winter, sometimes autumn, and so on. For example, now in some weeks, I think 3 weeks after, the Ramadan will start in April this year. During Ramadan, Muslim people don't drink even water, don't eat anything from dawn to sunset. So just before dawn, they get up early, and just before dawn, they eat, and then just after sunset, they eat again, and they keep them, fasting all through the day. It may be easy, very easy almost, to do in winter time because the days are short. But when the days are long and very hot, for example, at southeastern part of Turkey, it is very warm there, over 45, 46 degrees there, I witnessed that once in Diyarbakir. At that day, 11 people died because of that hot temperature and long day there, as they haven't got enough water. Another very interesting story is, I don't know if it is interesting for you, but I, experienced. When I went to Sweden, the Ramadan at that year was starting at the beginning of June. But 7 years later, it was then November. See? At June, in Sweden, there was no sunset before 12 o'clock. Because it's at the north, circle, and it doesn't go down.
It lasts only for 3 hours.
And people then, started to argue what to do. People got together, theological people got together, discussed the matter, and at the end they decided that they should keep up to Meccan time. So it was logical in a way, and they did. But after 7 years, then it was November, and the sunset was about 2 o'clock. 10 past 2 o'clock, it was sunset PM. Then, many Turks, still they were following up the Meccan time, but many other Muslims from other much more conservative lands, they preferred the Swedish time. It was easy. That was very interesting indeed, because it's not written in Quran. There's no any explanation, how to fast there in Sweden, when there's no sunset in the daytime. So this is interesting indeed. About the Ottomans, because this mosque was built at their peak period when it comes to power. Why they were powerful? Well, there are many reasons indeed, but Ottomans in their foundation was the smallest dynasty compared to the other Turkish dynasties, as I said before. They had only 144 soldiers at 1298. But they were clever. They had good relationship with other local people. They respected to their religion as well. So then by time, there were intermarriages between the Ottoman rulers or princes and the neighboring Christian feudal leaders there around Bursa, Eskişehir, and Bozüyük. That was critical. And some Turkish tribes, escaping in front of Mongols, because Mongols had a vast army, during Genghis Khan's time. Although Genghis Khan was half Turkish, and there were some Turkish officers there too, but he was plundering everyone. So, many Turkish tribes escaped in front of them and joined to Ottomans. So just 1 year after, Ottomans had 4,600 soldiers. And then their justice system was quite interesting. For example, Greek Orthodox people were accepted as a national community, and they had their own laws. I mean, if there was a dispute between two Greek Orthodox people, then they were bringing it to their local court. If it was solved, it was solved. If it wasn't, then it was brought to the Ottoman court. Same for the Armenians, same for the Jewish people. So, for example, there were pogroms in Europe all over, at Eastern Europe, at Western Europe. So many Jewish people were persecuted and killed. At that time, the Ottoman Sultan Bayezid II sent Ottoman fleet to Spain, and at 1492, thousands of Jews came to Istanbul from Europe. There are still old synagogues in many parts of the city at that time. So in a way, in those days' conditions, they were much more tolerant, to other religions. That was an advantage for them, to keep relationship with other communities. And the third was, they had a professional army. Europe had not. Europe had feudal leaders. Time to time, when it was necessary, they were getting together and trying to form an army. But the Ottoman Janissaries were full-year job. It was a professional job. And their, their bows, for example, much more capable than the Western ones. I think I told to someone, you see, at 17th century, the big British bows range was 380 meters as a record. But to use it, you have to sit and then pull, and 380 meters you could go. The Turkish small composite, because it's made out of the composite material, that size, they could use it on horse when they were riding as well. Its record range is 845 meters, more than double of the British arsenal. So in medieval wars, battles, the Ottoman army indeed had a big advantage against the other, forces and armies. The justice system was good, and also, they were not taking very care of the origins of the people. For example, Janissaries were mostly boys taken from Christian families. For example, most of the doctors of the Ottoman sultans were from Jewish origin. There were Armenian generals in the army, and there were Armenian merchants. Actually, most of the merchandise in those days were made by Armenians, because sultans were looking to Turkish people as soldiers, born soldiers. so the army was Turkish mainly, but the other businesses were done and operated by other communities. So when they had welfare, it was all good. But when Ottomans started to lose their economical power, and when they started to lose battles also, because until the Industrial Revolution, they were still big. As Ranko said, the peak period was from 1520 to 1600. After 1600, stagnation started. But after 1800, 1840s, due to the Industrial Revolution, they started to lose ground under their feet. But still, at the end of 19th century, they were a big state, a powerful state. I mean, their area, land was very big. Still they were big, but with diplomacy, by finding allies and so on. Actually, they were sort of, rope walkers in diplomacy. So in the First World War, they had to be with Germans. They lost together, and then Ottomans came to an end. The Sultan wanted to, to collaborate with the winners, with the British, for a while. But then, as all Turkish land was occupied by the winners, only a small portion was left to Turks. Then Atatürk, his friends, organized a new parliament in Ankara at 1920 from very different regions. A new constitution was founded there, and after 4 big battles, won, then Turkish Republic was founded in Ankara as the capital. Meanwhile, Sultan escaped. For 1 more year, Sultan's royal family left to live in Turkey. And the Caliph, because Sultans were also the Caliphs at that time. But the Caliph, who was the cousin of the escaped Sultan, when he started to behave like a new Sultan, then the parliament made a decision for the deportation of all royal family members outside, 1 year after the foundation of Republic. So 66 members of the family were deported. 2 princes went to Arab lands. 1 became a taxi driver in Cairo. 2 princesses, they married to Arab kings, Egyptian king and Iraqi king, Farouk, for example. Wife was Turkish. And, some went to Switzerland, some went to England, some went to Paris. Among them, the most clever one was Ertuğrul Osman Ertuğrul, who became the CEO of Michelin. No? For a time, he was the CEO of Michelin. Michelin, the rubber company, the big rubber.
Michelin.
Michelin.
So was getting rid of the Sultan and the end of the Caliphate, do Muslims look at that as like a mistake? That they should have maybe kept the Sultan?
Some Muslims still negative to Atatürk. Some conservative Muslims, they say that why to abolish caliphate?
Yeah.
They say caliphate was important, but actually in real politics it had no importance at all.
But they could have kept it like what Britain did with their king and their queen, with their monastery.
Yes, but lost all its meaning
Yeah.
before the First World War.
Yeah.
For example, a Turkish Navy ship was sent to Japan. Japan had a war between Russia and Japan at 1905, as you know. Everybody in Europe was expecting that the Russians should easily, defeat the Japanese. But it didn't so. It wasn't so. Because the Ottoman Sultan closed Bosphorus and Dardanelles. The Russian Navy couldn't go down. They could only compile some, and they lost. So after that, the Japanese emperor sent a lot of gifts and presents to Istanbul. In Dolmabahce Palace, there's a big hall, which is called Japanese Hall, because of the gifts there. So the Ottoman Sultan instantly had a hope that, perhaps if we try hard, then this Japanese nation can become Muslim. Yes, and he sent a big navy ship, there to Japan, sent some gifts. It was quite successful, but on the way back, because of a typhoon, it sank. 557 Turkish people died, only 57 survived, and so on. I mean, Atatürk understood that it had no any meaning or power on Muslim communities or nations, since Arabs, for example, in Saudi Arabia, under the leadership of Saudi tribe, they revolted against the Ottomans. They attacked from the backside there, you see. Just Lawrence and some other, intelligence, people could promote them, could motivate them against the Ottomans. So that's why they understood that it was of no importance. Years later, at 1980 something, I was trying to go into Dolmabahce Palace to buy the ticket at the queue, but there were so many journalists, so many. So first I didn't understand why, for whom they came and so on. Just 2 people before me, there was a tall man, over 85, 86 years. He was Ertuğrul Osman, CEO of Michelin. He was buying tickets to see the palace where he was born. It's dramatic. Indeed dramatic, but the story is like that. Anyway, let's go back to to Turkish or the mosque one. You see, it has 87, windows, bringing light enough to the building for the prayers. The altar is there, always directed to Kaaba. On the right and left hand side, you see extremely beautiful tiles. Those are double glazed and very valuable indeed. And the pulpit on the right side was produced from one monoblock marble there. And you see again, Allah is written there, Prophet Muhammad is written there, and the caliphs' names are written on the big pillars supporting the dome over there. So the acoustics here is extremely good. One more thing here is, although there was no air conditioning, and there was a lot of smoke coming from all those lamps, oil lamps in those days, and candles, you see no trace of smoke. Because by using the windows there, all that smoke could be concentrated through that, balcony there, in a room called smoke room. And later, after those calligraphers were going in there and preparing their ink from those, smoke, which is precipitated. This was an interesting thing indeed. Can you guess what is this? You see, this one over there. Eggman. What's egg? What sort of egg? Ostrich. Yes. They were altogether 130 ostrich eggs here. Now we have about 25, 26. They were put always here to keep insects away. We were believing that when you had, eggs there, then the insects would not come, especially spiders. They don't like. Yes, yes. Or reading Quran. No, he's reading Quran, not saying that. Reading Quran, yeah. Fasting is perhaps necessary because through fasting, you should understand, you should control your body, your wishes, discipline your wishes. Well, in many religions, there is in Christianity, in Jewish religion, in Buddhism as well, they have fasting.
So it's just for that reason?
Yeah. First reason is to control your wishes and your body. The second is probably to be able to understand the poor who can't find food.
So that's why they do that
To
during
experience it. Yeah.
I see.
So when you fast actually properly, you should do this properly, and when you start to eat that dinner, you should start to eat as if you are not hungry. Slowly.
Yeah.
In a disciplined way, you see. That was the matter. But unfortunately now everything has changed. I see in Ramadan, when sunset comes closer, then people drive like crazy. To reach to the feast table over there. So, yes, ma'am. This is another thing. During a prayer, there are two sections in a prayer. The first section is called farz. It is compulsory for everyone, and they do the same movement and pray at once together towards the altar, towards Kaaba. The second section is not compulsory. It is called Sunnet. It is for Prophet Muhammad. And then, if people have time, then a priest goes up to the pulpit there and talks about the ethical principles of Prophet Muhammad, life of Prophet Muhammad, and etc. Preaches. If there's more time, another priest come up to that small pulpit there. Usually they use the big one after Friday prayers, and this one during the week prayers there. And afterwards, if there is still time for the prayers, then many of them have rosaries. There are three types of rosaries. One has 33 beads for pocket. They call it pocket size. The other is 99 beads. which is the mosque size, and there is another one, 999 beads, which is the so-called zikir rosary. Zikir means when they do zikir, they breath rapidly, and they say, God is great, God is great, God is great, God is great. In that way, after a time, they feel themselves as if they are in trance. And it's very interesting, all those numbers, 33, 99, 999, they are all multiples of 3. Even the Japanese Shinto rosary has 108 beads. It is also dividable to 3. Very interesting, all multiples of 3. So this is the way how it's used when it's a mosque. Up there, the balcony was the woman's balcony. Men are and were giving their prayers here in this entrance. If there actually during the prayer hours, visitors are not allowed to get in.
So people who aren't Muslim can't come in and pray or see the prayer?
No. Because there are so many. Actually, in the past we could do so, but now there are thousands of buses coming here around, so it makes it impossible, for them to open during the rituals.
So do
Yes.
the women still have to be up there?
Yes, up there. They were separated from each other. Why?
Why?
We don't know, because it's not written in Quran either. There's no any phrase in Quran about that. There is no any phrase in Quran about wrapping your head either.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, you see, this is the tradition, starting from very old Sumerian times, perhaps. In Quran it says there's only one phrase. It says, "Women should cover their breast." That's all. That's all. But now you see, in Afghanistan, in Turkey, in some other countries, they are all wrapped like that, and it became almost a symbol for Muslims. But actually, there's no any phrase in Quran about that.
So,
Very
do people,
interesting.
so everybody has to do it though?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And yes, some more things about here. You see, this mosque is built on an inclined topography. I mean, towards the sea to Golden Horn, it goes down. Inclination is downward. So the architect first had to use thousands and thousands of tons of, what we call it, supporting columns down under the ground, and then built the platform, even platform, and then the whole weight of the mosque came over that platform. But if you remember, in Istanbul, in every 30 to 40 years, there was once a 7.2, 7.5 degrees earthquake.
Yeah.
And in every 200, 240 years, nearly 8 degrees earthquake. It is original. Nothing happened to this.
It never falls down.
Never.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean,
And
never
good
fall.
architecture. So this
Architect was very genius. I mean, he was a sort of Michelangelo in Turkish side at the same period. He was really a genius man. His life is very interesting as well. Sinan was a very tall guy. And here, in those days, the competition and in a way rivalry between Turkey and Iran was quite, tight. Because Iran, although Muslim, Shia. But Ottomans, Muslim, but Sunni. For the Ottoman diplomacy, the number one, in protocol was Iran. Because they were the nearest enemy. And the Byzantines and the East Romans always had good relationship with Iran at that time. Ottomans had a central army. When that army went to a campaign, let's say to Europe, then the Iranian army attacked from east. And then they returned, and then they left. So when Iranian Shah heard that big monumental mosque is under construction in Istanbul, he sent his, ambassador with a small box full of jewels, emeralds and so, diamonds, emeralds. and the ambassador came to the Sultan, and he said that his Shah wanted to give a small, gift to the Sultan. But in a way, it was not a prestigious thing to give, such jewelry to a as if he is not capable of, building this monument alone. So he ordered to Sina to put all those jewels into the mortar. So they are in the building somewhere.
In the motor.
They are in the building.
Mortar. So not all mosques are built after, like, they don't withstand earthquakes. It's just this one.
Yeah. This one is very interesting because the creation of the volume here is mastered. And as I said, from outside you don't see the flying buttresses, but it has very strong flying buttresses inbuilt. And it dominates the whole area down to the Golden Horn. Now we will have about 10-15 minutes, as you like, free time. If you go there, for example, to the northern courtyard, you have a nice view there of the Golden Horn. If you walk a little bit outside the main entrance there, then you will see the marble work there, and you will see the symmetry of the building as well. So
When was this built?
1550 to 1557, under 7 years. So this was a cultural, not only religious, but religious, cultural, educational center in which 2,500 people worked as staff.
16th century.
Yeah, at 16th century.
7 years. It was built for 7 years.
Yeah,
How many people?
I saw thousands of people.
One block of marble.
The October of 1922, a British vessel came to Bosphorus to take the ruling Sultan with his family to take them to France. Okay, this is the aftermath of the First World War. Okay? And in the end of 1922, the 600-year-old Ottoman Empire came to its final end, okay? And they never came back. So the year is 1922. And 1 year later, in the October of 1923, Republic was declared, established. Atatürk said that this is no longer an Islamic Sharia empire. We have a new name, and this is a secular state republic. And this came in 1 year after the Sultan left.
Under Atatürk.
Atatürk. I mean, Sultan left in 1922, and the republic came in 1923.
It's very important to hear it here in the country. I grew up in Europe. There is no single book in Europe that you ever pay any attention to 1840. That Josiah Leach myth. I believe it's time here during this tour that, that you clear up. Thank you so much. Sorry, I took the freedom to ask questions.
we talked about this ahead of time. You want to be flexible with surprises. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not, but this is one of the sweet ones. And so we really, really want to thank you. This has been a wonderful treat. Thank you so much. Now you've spoiled us. Now these individuals come in from the cold, and we're having this wonderful lunch and this ride, cruises. We're going to go back with fantastic memories of Turkey. So thank you for giving us this wonderful, wonderful experience.
Thank you for being in Turkey, and hopefully see you next time again.